The time to finally have my own private bath is getting real close. We have knocked out 3 of the major rough-in tasks, which is framing, electrical, and plumbing. But today I'm going to have to take a few steps back to share how exactly I'm going to level out my floor and my plans for setting up the smallest shower pan that fits in my space. If you're new here, then welcome. You're watching a complete beginner in the world of construction and DIY make mistakes that may or may not have repercussions. Hope you enjoy. Now let's get started. If you remember from the last video, the plumbers had to break out the existing concrete in order to install the drain lines, and when they went back to install all the concrete, everything ended up kind of bumpy. Thankfully though, they make a concrete-based self-leveling compound which should solve all my problems. Now this is going to be the first time I ever use self-leveling compound, so obviously I'm in a position to make mistakes. However, I'm going to try to share everything I can. That way if you ever find yourself laying down some self-leveling, then you know you'll probably be an expert. So the first thing I did was to start sealing any areas that could cause my self-leveling mix to leak, or to get in any areas where I don't want it to go to. For example, in the bottom plates or on the toilet flange. Now, this is where I ran into my first issue, which was not using enough of the spray foam. I put a very little amount on the gaps, and when I went in to pour in some areas, the compound started to go over the spray, and this was one of the main reasons I had to go and do a second coat later on. After I got a good layer of spray foam around the entire perimeter and made sure that the area was free of dust, the next step was to prime the floor. Ideally, this will help with the compound to stick better and prevent cracking. It was a 2-to-1 ratio between water to primer, and then I used a spray roller to spread it out as much as I could. I let it dry for about 3 to 4 hours and then got my self-leveling mix ready. Finding the correct consistency here was key. I followed the bag instructions, which said a certain amount of gallons to be mixed with the bag, but I kind of went with my gut on this, and also based on other videos that I had watched, the compound seemed to be a bit more drippy and more liquidy. Once I got it to the consistency that I was looking for, I went ahead and poured it and then started just spreading things out with a trowel. So like I mentioned before, I had to repeat the process and everything was pretty much the same except for 2 things. If you notice the streaks here, it was all due to the trowel. I guess I didn't have the best technique, that I just kept making things worse on the first coat. Now for the second coat, which typically you don't need if you do things right the first time around, I did end up using a spiked roller. Now the steps pretty much stayed the same between the first and second coat. The only difference is that I used the spiked roller and that I marked my low spots in order to pour more of the compound where it needed to be. Honestly, after the second coat, it was a night and day difference. I honestly credit everything to the spiked roller, so if you're thinking of doing something like this, then definitely pick that up. I guess just as a quick recap of where we are. So we just finished running dedicated circuits from the panel, a 15 amp and a 20 amp over to this side right here. We now have a 15 amp dedicated circuit for the lights and for the exhaust fan. We also have dedicated 20 amp circuit for the outlet that will be connected right there. Now, in terms of what is left, this section right here will actually be a wall with the door. I took it out just because it wasn't perfectly squared with what I have on this side. So we need to pretty much put that up again, and that's what we'll be working on. So yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and dry test this shower pan. You can see everything's pretty much set in place. Everything seems to be good. I'll take this level and just verify that everything's level. It's level here, it's leveled there, it's leveled right here, and it is leveled right there. So it's leveled in all the 4 edges. So I think this is good. I'm not going to put any mortar bed just because the instructions say, like, if your floor is flat, you can use this. However, I am going to put a vapor barrier because this shower pan is kind of weird. So the shower pan is kind of weird because it actually has a piece of plywood on here, and I'm guessing it's for support because it also has a piece of styrofoam. So it's kind of weird. But yeah, I'll just put a vapor barrier, fill in this last remaining thing with cement, and then install it. Okay, we're back, and the cement that I put up finished drying, as well as the self-leveling underlayment that I put is pretty much dry, and everything's pretty close to flat. That edge is slightly off, but I don't really think it'll be an issue. If it is, I could always put a little bit more, but I think the way it is right now is perfectly good. Okay, like I mentioned, the floor is good to go. I'm going to start cutting down my pipe and just prepping the area to secure in the shower pan. We got our moisture barrier up, we cut the pipe perfectly. Now what we're gonna do is actually secure this flange, this thing, onto the shower pan itself. I am ready to dump some water. I am kind of scared of what's actually gonna happen, but I just hope it drains. I hope everything runs smoothly and it doesn't overflow, because if it overflows, then we got some serious problems. So yeah, I got this bucket and I'm about to pour it in there. Let's hope this works. It freaking drains. Okay, this is good. This is good. This is good. This is what we want. Either way, I'm gonna go fill in another bucket and just dump it in there, just to make sure that that P-trap is filled. We're gonna go ahead and fasten it to the wall, and yeah, we're gonna be pretty much done with the shower pan. So I'm pretty happy about that. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so that's pretty much going to do it for this video. I hope you guys found that entertaining, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Last but not least, if you guys have any questions, then make sure to drop it in the comments. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.